Pick up a box of free-range eggs, read the front. Now here is what it does not tell you. Those hens may have spent the entire winter locked inside a standard commercial shed, never once setting foot on a single blade of green grass. And thanks to a regulatory loophole that the Australian government and industry regulators quietly codified when establishing the national standard, the carton on your local supermarket shelf does not have to say a word about it. The glossy label right under the warm morning light still reads, free range. The hens are packed indoors, and you would never know standing in the refrigerated aisle at Woolies or Coles. That is just the start of what your daily carton is hiding from your wallet. So we did the dirty work. We put the 3 giant supermarket chains fighting for your weekly budget, Woolworths, Coles and ALDI Australia, through 4 brutal tests. We investigated how the hens live on Australian soil, whether the eggs meet genuine food safety baselines, where the supply chains originate, and the metric that hits your bank account hardest, the real price per egg. 3 giant retailers, 4 exhaustive tests, and 1 definitive winner. And spoiler alert, it is definitely not the brand with the biggest marketing budget or the fanciest green logo on the box. Before we crack into the lab results, you need to understand one basic mechanic, because it is the key to the deception. There is a hidden ladder of animal welfare disguised behind the cozy vocabulary printed on that cardboard. 4 distinct rungs. Master them once, and you will never look at an egg carton the same way again. At the absolute bottom, you have caged eggs. Except almost nobody writes the word caged anymore because it sounds like the bleak reality it is. The industrial agriculture machine calls it enriched housing or conventional production. In plain English, thousands of hens kept permanently indoors inside tiered wire cages, crammed together with barely enough room to turn around. Each bird gets less usable floor space than a sheet of A4 printer paper. That is their entire existence. A piece of paper's worth of wire mesh and artificial fluorescent lights that never turn into an open sky dot. The next rung up is barn laid. This is the category shoppers get wrong constantly. Barn laid means the hens are technically out of individual wire cages, free to walk across a concrete floor, stretch their wings, and roost. It is a step up from a wire box, but it also means absolute indoor confinement for their entire lives. A barn laid hen has never once scratched in real dirt, stood under direct sun, or pecked at a bug. Marginally better than a cage, but nowhere near the pastoral fantasy of green pastures people picture. Then comes free range. On paper, the shed doors open. The birds have shelter at night for protection, but daytime access to outdoor runs where they can forage, dust bathe, and move naturally. This is the rung 90% of Australian consumers think they are buying when they pay extra at the checkout. And sitting at the very top is certified organic free range. Here, outdoor access is combined with significantly lower stocking densities, strictly regulated organic feed, free from synthetic additives, and 0 routine chemical interventions. Caged, barn-laid, free range, and organic. 4 basic classifications that dictate the total life experience of the animal that produced your morning meal. Now here is the trick you need to spot next time you push a trolley down the aisle. Supermarkets across Australia proudly trumpet their commitment to going cage-free. It sounds progressive and ethical in a press release. But cage-free is a carefully engineered umbrella that simply means not in a wire cage. It deliberately blurs the lines by lumping cheap indoor barn-laid eggs and genuine outdoor free-range eggs into the exact same feel-good phrase. A barn-laid egg from a bird that spent its life on concrete inside a shed with 20,000 other birds qualifies as cage-free. It is a phrase designed to make the aisle sound infinitely kinder than it actually is. While we are pulling back the curtain, let us smash one massive consumer myth that costs Australian households thousands over a lifetime of grocery runs. That rich, deep orange yolk you assume is proof of a healthy, pasture-raised bird? Total optical illusion. Yolk pigmentation has virtually nothing to do with welfare, freedom, or nutritional value. It is entirely a function of what goes into the feed trough. Marigold petal extract, natural paprika compounds, or synthetic carotenoids like canthaxanthin are routinely blended into commercial feed mixes to turn a pale yellow yolk into a vibrant, photo-ready sunset orange. Commercial producers literally select their desired yolk hue from a standardized color fan chart. The premium brands know consumers equate orange with health, so they tune the diet to deliver that exact shade. You are paying a markup for feed dyes, not farm integrity. Do this simple test right now. Go to your fridge, pull out whatever carton you bought this week, and flip it over. Ignore the front cover completely. The front is pure advertising designed to prompt an impulse buy. Look strictly at the side panels and the fine print on the back. Check the precise stocking density listed in birds per hectare. Look for official certification marks like Sustainable Agriculture Reviews or Australian Certified Organic. Calculate the true cost per individual egg rather than the total box price. Those 3 details, the verified stocking density, the independent audit stamp, and the unit cost, represent the total truth of what you purchased. Everything else is just shiny paper. Keep that carton in your hand because we are about to pit Australia's 3 biggest grocery titans head-to-head against those exact metrics. Right. Now that the labelling vocabulary is firmly on your side, let us put Australia's 3 main supermarket titans through the exact same 4 tests. Welfare standards, food safety compliance, regional farm sourcing, and the true price per egg. We are counting down from 3rd place all the way to our overall champion. In 3rd place, Woolworths. Woolies is Australia's undisputed grocery titan. Roughly 33 cents of every single dollar spent on food and household goods in this nation flows straight through a Woolworths checkout. With that level of retail dominance, immense corporate buying power, and endless marketing budgets, you would expect the self-proclaimed fresh food people to walk away with top honours in an animal welfare and consumer value breakdown. They do not. And when you look at the raw timeline and shelf pricing, the honest reasons become painfully clear. Back in 2013, Woolworths made a public pledge to completely eliminate caged shell eggs from all supermarket shelves by 2025. A headline-grabbing PR win that bought them 10 full years of positive corporate headlines and customer goodwill. But when you examine how that pledge was executed on the ground, Woolies dragged their feet right up until the deadline, trailing well behind their discount rivals. The largest, wealthiest food retailer in the country used virtually every available day of that decade-long timeline to complete the phase-out across their proprietary lines. That corporate lag tells you everything you need to know. When a high-welfare transition costs money or disrupts supplier relationships, corporate giants move at the slowest speed legally and publicly tolerable. To be fair to Woolworths, because an investigative review must stick to unvarnished facts, there are genuinely positive aspects inside their egg program. Woolworths sources 100% Australian shell eggs across its proprietary brands, and their partner farms adhere to baseline biosecurity and hygiene standards set out under Australian Egg Corporation guidelines. Chemically, microbiologically, and nutritionally, these are perfectly safe eggs. You are not buying a contaminated product. The catch comes when you evaluate Woolworths on the number that matters most to a family budget, the price per egg. When tested across standard free-range ranges, Woolies consistently lands as the most expensive option among the big 3 chains. You are paying a noticeable retail premium for the brand name over the front door. You are paying extra for a baseline free-range product where the discounters have quietly matched and in key areas, outright beaten, everything Woolworths offers on the shelf. It is a good egg, but you are paying top dollar for marketing. 3rd place. In 2nd place, Coles. This is where the major supermarket markup starts to break down because Coles delivers a genuinely solid, highly reliable egg while taking a much smaller bite out of your weekly budget. Coles matched the national transition toward cage-free sourcing, but they did something noteworthy during the process. As input costs rose across the poultry sector, Coles absorbed key margin pressures rather than immediately passing every single cent of cost onto shoppers at the register. When you evaluate Coles on unit value, their store-brand free-range cartons sit in the sweet spot of the Australian market. Their standard free-range egg options sit right near the floor of major supermarket pricing across the nation. On the frying pan, poached in a pot, or whipped into an omelette, independent consumer panels show that the vast majority of shoppers cannot tell a Coles standard free-range egg apart from an artisanal boutique brand selling for twice the price. Here is a practical shopping tip that will save your household genuine money every single month, and it applies at both Coles and ALDI. Stop grabbing the standard 6-pack or 12-pack carton out of pure habit. Always walk 2 steps further down the display and look for the bulk 18-pack or 30-pack family crates. The unit price per egg on bulk packaging is routinely lower than the 6-packs most shoppers grab on autopilot. If your household consumes a dozen or 2 eggs a week, that simple habit change saves you over $100 across a year of shopping. Same egg, same Aussie hen, same biosecurity standard, less money out of your pocket. That is the exact mathematical truth the glossy front packaging tries to hide from you. Coles secures 2nd place as an outstanding value champion for everyday Australian families. It offers clean local sourcing, great shelf availability, and sharp pricing. It only misses out on 1st place by a razor-thin margin. And that margin is not about the egg on your plate, but what happens back at the farm. Before we crown our overall winner, one quick favour. If this investigation is changing how you will read egg cartons at Woolies or Coles this week, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right now. We are a small, independent team digging through lab reports, compliance documents, and regulatory fine print so you do not get ripped off at the checkout. Hitting the like button is the single biggest thing you can do to force the algorithm to push this video in front of thousands of everyday shoppers before they overpay this weekend. It takes 1 second, costs nothing, and directly keeps this channel alive. Now, in first place, and the undisputed winner of our supermarket test, ALDI Australia. ALDI wins this investigation the way a champion ought to win, by delivering the highest baseline welfare standard among the major grocery chains, while simultaneously offering the lowest price per egg on the shelf. Let us walk through the 4 core test categories to see how ALDI pulled ahead. First, animal welfare. ALDI pulled clear of the competition early. They met their cage-free commitments ahead of their original corporate schedule, successfully eliminating caged shell eggs from their core private label lineup. Every single shell egg sold under ALDI's private label brands, like Lodge Farms, is certified free-range or organic. No sneaky barn-laid eggs hidden under ambiguous budget branding. Furthermore, ALDI's core free-range ranges carry independent certification under the RSPCA-approved farming scheme. Now, let us be transparent. Independent investigations by consumer watchdog Choice and animal welfare advocacy groups have fairly pointed out that RSPCA-approved certification represents a minimum baseline floor rather than an absolute agricultural paradise. Commercial stocking densities inside sheds can still be high, but having an established baseline floor enforced by independent unannounced farm audits gives consumers a layer of verification that uncertified box claims simply cannot match. Second, farmer support and local supply chains. This is the critical factor that turns a good result into a winning one. Over recent years, extreme weather, soaring grain feed costs, and skyrocketing energy bills hit Australian egg farmers like a sledgehammer. Major supermarket pricing pressure squeezed farmgate returns so severely that dozens of family-owned poultry farms were forced to cut flock sizes or walk away from the industry entirely. When supply shortages hit the market, shelves across Australia went bare, with major chains rationing cartons to 2 per customer. During that exact crisis, ALDI injected over $50 million directly into its Australian egg supply chain through long-term, fixed-price contracts with local farmers. That financial commitment gave Aussie egg producers guaranteed income, long-term stability, and the confidence to invest in modern, high-welfare farm infrastructure. ALDI did not just buy Australian eggs. It actively kept Australian egg farmers solvent through the most brutal economic stretch the industry has experienced in a generation. Third, the price per egg. After leading on welfare timing, investing tens of millions into local Australian farms, and securing third-party audit marks, you would expect ALDI to charge a premium. That is how retail usually works. Better quality costs more. Except at ALDI, it does not. ALDI is now Australia's largest single retailer of value free-range eggs. A carton of ALDI free-range eggs consistently beats both Woolworths and Coles on unit price, routinely dropping to unbeatable bargain levels. In independent blind taste tests, ALDI free-range eggs rank toe-to-toe with premium boutique eggs costing up to $10 a dozen. Higher welfare standards, long-term farmer investment, great taste, and the lowest shelf price. ALDI takes a clear and deserved victory. Now, here is the dark truth about the Australian egg market that the entire industry would prefer you never learn. The legal loophole hiding right inside national regulations. Under the Australian Consumer Law, National Information Standard on Free-Range Eggs, introduced by the federal government, producers can legally market their eggs as free-range, provided their outdoor stocking density does not exceed 10,000 hens per hectare. Think about what that number means in reality. 10,000 birds per hectare equals exactly 1 square metre of outdoor space per chicken. Comprehensive consumer research conducted by Choice revealed that over 95% of Australian shoppers believe free-range implies birds roaming on wide-open pastures at low densities, matching the historic CSIRO model code benchmark of 1,500 hens per hectare. The government standard effectively legalised industrial megafarms packing birds at 6 times that density, while still using warm, pastoral, free-range branding on supermarket shelves. It gets even worse during biosecurity events. When avian influenza flares up, state agriculture departments issue compulsory biosecurity emergency orders, requiring farmers to keep all poultry locked securely inside sheds to prevent infection from wild birds. Under current Australian labelling laws, producers are permitted to keep printing and selling free-range packaging throughout the entire duration of an emergency housing order, even if the hens remain locked indoors for months on end. The packaging does not require a sticker, a warning label, or a downgrade to barn-laid. The eggs remain completely safe to eat, but the honest transparency on the carton vanishes. you pay full free-range prices for birds living entirely indoors, and the carton on the Woolies or Coles shelf will not say a single word. To make sure you never get misled again, memorize our 10-second egg box check. 1. Check the outdoor stocking density. Turn the carton over and look for the fine print. Seek out brands stating 1,500 hens per hectare or lower for genuine pasture access, rather than the maximum legal limit of 10,000. 2. Verify independent certifications. Look for third-party marks like Australian Certified Organic or Independent Pasture-Raised audits, rather than vague corporate slogans. 3. Ignore yolk pigmentation. Do not pay extra for cartons claiming golden orange yolks. Yolk shade is purely controlled by synthetic or natural feed additives. 4. Always calculate price per egg. Read the shelf unit pricing or divide total carton cost by the egg count. Bulk 18 packs and 30 packs at ALDI and Coles provide the best value per egg. 5. Watch biosecurity news. If avian influenza housing orders are active, recognize that hens behind free-range labels may be temporarily confined indoors under regulatory exemptions. Master these 5 rules and no supermarket marketing campaign in Australia will ever trick your wallet again. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it. After wading through a sea of marketing spin, deceptive loopholes, and industrial megafarms, it is time to look at the producers who actually deliver on their promises. These are the brands that prove you do not have to settle for factory farm eggs disguised with cute pastoral packaging. Every single option on this list is available in standard Australian stores like Woolworths, Coles, ALDI, and Harris Farm Markets right now. No obscure specialty importers, no mail order subscriptions, just honest food you can put straight into your trolley this week. We are starting with the most budget-friendly, accessible option and building all the way up to the absolute gold standard of ethical Australian farming. That way, no matter where your household finances sit right now, there is a legitimate, high-welfare choice waiting on the shelf. First on our recommended list, ALDI Just Organic Free Range. If you want a genuine upgrade from standard industrial eggs without watching your weekly grocery bill explode, this is your immediate starting point. Sitting quietly on ALDI shelves across the nation, Just Organic bridges the gap between commercial affordability and strict agricultural standards. Unlike standard supermarket free-range cartons that push the legal boundary right up to 10,000 birds per hectare, ALDI's certified organic line operates under strict ACO or NASA, independent organic oversight. That means a hard cap on stocking density, guaranteed outdoor access on chemical-free pasture, and zero synthetic pesticides, antibiotics, or artificial dye additives in the feed. When you crack a Just Organic egg into a pan, the physical difference is obvious. The white holds a tight, plump structure around a naturally golden yolk, rather than spreading into a watery puddle across the skillet. In terms of price, a dozen sits at roughly 85 to 90 cents per egg. Compare that to generic free-range offerings at premium supermarkets, and you are paying roughly the same unit cost for a certified organic product backed by independent audit marks. The only real downside is shelf availability. Because savvy shoppers know the value here, ALDI stores frequently run out of these cartons by early afternoon. If you see them on the shelf during your morning shop, grab them immediately. Moving up to our mid-tier hero, Manning Valley Naturally Pasture Raised. Available across almost every Woolworths, Coles, and independent grocer in Australia, Manning Valley Naturally is the benchmark that forced the rest of the industry to pull up its socks. While big commercial cartels lobbied the federal government to legalise 10,000 hens per hectare under the free-range banner, Manning Valley held firm at a maximum of 1,500 hens per hectare. That is more than 6 times the physical outdoor space per bird compared to the standard legal limit. The philosophy here is built on genuine pasture-based farming. The hens are not simply offered a tiny concrete doorway into a bare dirt patch. They spend daylight hours actively foraging through lush grass, scratching for insects, and dust bathing in natural sunlight. That active outdoor lifestyle reflects directly in the pan. The eggshells are thick and structurally resilient, requiring a firm tap on the counter to crack. The albumin is dense, and the flavor profile carries a rich, savory depth that makes cheap supermarket eggs taste completely flat by comparison. On price, Manning Valley sits around 95 cents to $1 per egg. You are paying roughly 20 cents more per serving than a basic house brand carton, but every single cent of that difference goes directly toward lower stocking densities, real grass pastures, and ethical land management. Independent consumer testing by choice consistently ranks Manning Valley among the top performers for taste, freshness, and genuine welfare compliance. And finally, at the absolute top of the ladder, Honest Eggs Company Regenerative Pasture Raised. If you want to buy the single best egg produced on Australian soil and you are willing to pay for absolute farm integrity, this is your destination. Founded in regional Victoria and stocked in Woolworths, Coles and Harris farm markets, Honest Eggs Company does not just meet welfare standards, they fundamentally redefine what ethical poultry farming looks like. Instead of static sheds where thousands of birds gradually turn the surrounding paddock into a barren dust bowl, Honest Eggs Company uses mobile chicken caravans moved weekly onto fresh, green pastures. Their stocking density is an unbelievable 30 birds per hectare. To put that in perspective, while the national free-range legal limit allows 10,000 birds on a single hectare, Honest Eggs Company runs roughly 50 chooks across an entire AFL football field. They even made global headlines by creating Fit Chicks, miniature solar-powered step counters attached to their hens to publicly track how many thousands of steps their birds take outdoors every single day. The result is a culinary product in a league of its own. The eggs carry a rich, buttery flavour and a silky texture that completely ruins standard eggs for you forever. The chooks eat wild seeds, grass and bugs alongside non-GMO grain, producing an exceptionally nutritious yolk rich in natural omega-3 fatty acids. At around $1.30 per egg, it is undeniably a premium product. It is expensive, and if you are feeding a family of 5 on a tight shoestring, it may not be your everyday driver. But for couples, solo shoppers, or anyone who can stretch their budget, paying an extra $3 per carton supports regenerative agriculture that actively repairs Australian topsoil while giving animals an ideal life. That is not marketing puffery, that is an investment in real food. So how do you navigate the grocery aisle without getting played by multi-billion-dollar marketing budgets? Here are 5 unshakable rules to screenshot before your next trip to Woolies, Coles, or ALDI. First, always locate the fine print on outdoor stocking density. Look specifically for 1,500 hens per hectare or lower on the back of the carton. If the packaging refuses to print the exact number or hides behind vague phrases like pasture-loving, assume it hits the maximum legal limit of 10,000 birds per hectare, which gives each hen barely 1 square metre of outdoor space. Second, demand independent certification logos. Look for Australian Certified Organic, NASAA Organic, or accredited pasture-raised stamps. A third-party auditor checking farm gates unannounced means everything. A pretty drawing of a red barn on the front cover means absolutely nothing. Third, ignore yolk colour completely when judging quality or welfare. Synthetic or natural feed additives like marigold petals and paprika are routinely mixed into industrial feed troughs to dye pale yolks into a deep orange hue. Judge the producer by their farming practices, not the shade of yellow in your frying pan. Fourth, calculate the unit cost per egg, not the upfront price of the box. Walk past the fancy 6-packs and look at the bulk 18-pack or 30-pack trays at ALDI or Coles. Buying in bulk routinely slashes your cost per egg by 15 to 20% while delivering the exact same certified free-range quality. Fifth, keep an eye on biosecurity news. If compulsory emergency housing orders are active due to avian influenza outbreaks, know that current Australian regulations permit farms to keep printing free-range labels even while birds remain locked indoors for months on end. When you step back and look at the whole picture, the Australian egg aisle is a masterclass in how industrial agriculture uses feel-good vocabulary to protect profit margins. The system is designed to keep you reaching for the most profitable carton while assuming you are doing the right thing for animal welfare. But once you know how to read past the glossy marketing, the power shifts entirely back into your hands. If this video helped you see through the noise, share it with a mate or family member who buys their eggs on autopilot at the local supermarket. Drop a comment right now and tell us, which brand of eggs is sitting in your fridge right this second? And are you swapping it out on your next shop? Subscribe to the channel to catch our next deep dive investigation into what big brands are quietly putting into your pantry. Demand real free range, stop paying for feed dye, and never let a glossy carton fool you again.